Hello everybody, it's Kenny Conklin from sci-fi-fantasy.com as usual. We got another video. We just finished up the Klingon battle cruiser, and I'm laughing a little bit because we have our cameraman behind the camera. He's doing a little dance making me laugh. And actually this will be the video series for the Cadet Series 1/2500 scale USS Enterprise. We'll be doing that one, and we'll bring you over to the desk and show you what we're doing. So this is the 1/2500 scale USS Enterprise from the Cadet Series. Goes along with the Bird of Prey and the Battle Cruiser. This kit here has 13 parts all together: the nacelles, the engineering section, the saucer, the end caps for the nacelles, and stuff like that. There's a little bit of flash on a couple pieces that we'll have to clean up, but we'll start putting this guy together. I was going to go by the paint scheme that they have in the directions itself, but it's pretty basic colors, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break out the 1/350 scale instructions and just go over the colors and see what's going on with that. So I'm going to start working on this, and then we'll be back to show you what we're doing. Okay, the first thing I popped off the sprue was the top half of the saucer and the bottom half of the saucer. Now I usually don't do it like this, but I cut the sprue off here, and then I took the sprue and I bent it off and then sanded it down. The only reason I did it like that is because there was how it's attached to it using the cutters. Even getting this close, I was cutting, there wasn't enough room to cut flush with these guys. Now the bottom half of this, for some reason I was feeling, it has a very gritty feel to it. I washed it off and it's still gritty, so hopefully when we put primer it smooths that out. And that's not really a problem because that could be taken care of. The only thing I found with the saucer halves is they don't align properly. The top half on this one is a little bigger. You can hear my finger plucking off the top one. It's a little bigger than the other one, so it doesn't line up right. You really can't see it, but I know it's there, so I'm gonna have to sand this down and keep the roundness to it. I gotta be really careful, and once I sand it down, hopefully the seam is gone, plus that, like I said, that little overlap will definitely be gone. If not, we're just gonna putty around here and then get rid of that seam line too. So the saucer is together. They're not long kits, it's a very quick kit. So let me get on to more stuff and we'll be right back. Okay, next up is going to be the engineering hull, putting the hole in here. This way we can get this guy on a stand. Now it's snap tight, so I could put it together and then pry it apart once I'm done. Now the only problem with this is, I don't know, you're probably not going to be able to see it. You might be able to see it there. The halves are off. They're unaligned. This side of the engineering hull is higher than this side, and it also makes things, you probably could see it better there, how it's off. So once I get the hole drilled in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it apart, and then I'll show you what we're going to do to try to correct that situation. So just like last time, we're just going to find the spot where we want to have our stand, and hopefully I don't kill myself. Bingo. And we have our hole. Now let me shut this off before I get myself going crazy. So since it is snapped together, I could get a fingernail or something in between there, and we could pry both parts apart, and then I'll show you how we're going to get this to hold in this time. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we tacked down our 1/16 inch rod with a little super glue just to keep it in place so it doesn't move, and it keeps this guy pretty much straight on here. And then the next thing we're going to do, just like we did with the Klingon battle cruiser, is we're going to use the polymer plus the liquid that sets the polymer. So what we're going to do is, if you have pipettes, it makes it easier. these little guys, what you do is squeeze the bulb first to get the air out of there. And once the air is out of there, suck some of the stuff up in, but you got to kind of scoop it back because it'll fall right back out. Now we're just going to do little layers. Underneath him. That's a little more than a little, but that'll be fine. We're going to build it up over it to make sure that this gets soaked and we can have that guy in there solid once it's done. And you do the same thing with the other pipette. You squeeze it, get the air out of there, and then fill it up with the setting solution. And it's not going to hurt the plastic if you overload it. That's going to soak in there. And even though that's soaking in, you can grab more of the polymer itself and go right over that guy. See how it sucks right up into that? And remember, like I said, even if it goes a little over, this stuff is sandable, so I can sand it down to shape and make sure that everything still fits. Plus there's plenty of room in between both. And that should be plenty on there, and then I'll add a little more of the setting solution on top of the white just to make sure that guy gets hard. And it's going to actually add a little weight to this guy. And Shane, my friend, is going to be very drunk with how many times I keep saying this guy. This one I'm not going to overload, I'm just going to put enough drips to get it wet, because there's plenty on there. And then I'll have to clean up the sides, and once that's dry I'll come back and show you what's going on. Okay, the acrylic powder is set up and the rod is in there, and the ship isn't going anywhere, as you can see. Now, the problem with the halves being off was simply fixed by cutting that peg off and cutting that peg off. And then you can take the other half and you can align them right, and it'll be fine. I just got to squeeze it together when I'm gluing it, and it'll look much better than this one being canted up a little bit like it was before. So I'll get to gluing this together, and then we'll show you another piece. We got both halves together. They're straight now. Now the next thing I was going to put on is the front dish, but when I put it on and was gluing it, I noticed that yet again another piece is misaligned. This right here is definitely the worst kit out of all three in the package. This one doesn't fit so far. The saucer doesn't fit together right, the body halves don't fit together right, and this doesn't fit together right. So we're gonna have to do a little more surgery. We're gonna cut this guy off, and we're gonna put this on in the right position to make sure it matches up with the three little side bumps right here, and then we'll get back to you on that. But before I go, this is how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna take the little razor saw and just carefully cut, which is going to take me a few minutes to go through the whole thing because I don't want to ruin the model. So once I'm done with that, I'll be right back. As you can see, we cut the nub off the front here, which was misaligned. It was lower and left a big gap up at top. So now we could take the dish and put it up here and align it correctly, and it'll look right. I don't know if you can see that, but once my fingers are off here and it's glued together, I'll show you a better view of that. Okay, so I got one of the nacelles together, and again it was misalignment with the pieces. I ended up cutting out the locking pins on the one side and gluing the halves together, because when you use the locking pins, like on the saucer and the other part, there's a little lip that you'll be able to see. This kit out of all three has definitely the most cleanup and most seam lines to do, and it's going to be a pain in the neck. Also, because I wanted to put the engineering hull together first, so it'll be easier to fill in the gaps, sand the seams on both sides without the structure here. This part I had to cut off. There's two little tabs here that are supposed to lock in, because it is a snap tight kit basically. So I can shove this guy in here after that's done, and then I gotta really shove him down because he's a little higher than the other one. So once all that is done, it'll look nice and seamless. I had that the wrong way. Still has to go down a little bit. And then I could fill that in. Once it's done, it'll be a lot easier to fill in these gaps and do the bottom gaps and then hit this afterward to sand that stuff down. So that's pretty much it on the build right now until I get this stuff together and it all sanded. So let's end there for the night. Okay, so I'm going to finish up putting the other nacelle together, and then I'll start on getting the seams all done. So we'll do that in the next video and show you the guy built together, or we'll do a couple of showing you where the sanding is done and all that. So thanks for stopping by and watching another video. Hopefully you come over to Sci-Fi Antasy like I always ask you to. And if you could, just hit the subscribe button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I hope you all have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye everybody.
Thank you.